So hey guys, it's Zion again, and we're playing some Black Ops 2, and I apologize for that. I haven't been playing too much Battlefield because my graphics card crapped out on me, and while I did capture this before the graphics card finally was exchanged for a new one, which will handle Battlefield a whole lot better, for right now I'm just going to have some Black Ops footage for the next couple days. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about something that Kulprit brought up in yesterday's video, the concept of challenge and what it means to challenge yourself in a game. And while I talked about this a little bit in a video that I'm posting on another channel that I will link when it goes live, I wanted to address it directly here in more detail. The footage you're watching is exactly the opposite of what you would think about when you come to challenge. I go 26-2 in this domination match on Carrier, and the other team is absolutely terrible. I'm not using a high kill streak setup, I'm not trying very hard, but these guys, they were awful. And while the first part of the gameplay is somewhat fast-paced, the second round is basically me running around with a sniper rifle, a target finder, just looking for people to shoot. Because there's no one, because they're all either hiding someplace or not near the objective, or they're somewhere that's not useful. And they're just bad players to begin with, so not only can I kill them with impunity, but I can't find them to kill them with impunity, and so it becomes sort of this slog where I just get to try out different setups. Which is why I really like playing with a bunch of strong players, because if there's even one or two people on my team who are going to dominate the battlefield, for whatever reason, either because they're going really hard, they're playing the objective, or the enemy team is an idiot and they're taking advantage of it, whatever the case, I know that if I have one or two people who are going to win the game, I can do what I like. I can snipe, and you'll see later, I don't snipe in this game very effectively. I'm terrible at it, in fact. But because the enemy team was so terrible at the game, I could do whatever I liked, and I knew that I would still win. If I didn't have the SWAT 556 select fire, this would have been a great game to at least attempt to get closer to that goal. Now, granted, I have it select fired, and that gun is a monster, fully automatic, but still, the idea that you go into games like this and completely destroy a team. Now, when you're with a team, and you know that there's going to be a swarm and dogs, or all 5 conquest flags capped, then yeah, I don't have any problem with one team completely steamrolling another, because that's just team balance. And you've intentionally stacked the odds in your favor, which, as much as team stacking is looked down upon, I don't think it's a bad thing, simply because it's a social activity, and most of the time they're having a bunch of fun doing it. And so while I could go for 100 kill gameplays, run VSAT swarm dogs, or go for 50 kill TDMs using the M416 and a Magnum and the assault kit and reviving everybody and just going crazy, it's not fun. It's not challenging. There's no reward in it, which is another reason I tend not to play a single series for too long, because it gets boring. Either there's no challenge in it, or what challenge I can put in it is too frustrating. For example, in Battlefield 3, I know that if I run around with an assault rifle, AEK, M16, M4, even the AN94 or some of the others, then I'll have a good game, I'll have a good time, but it'll be easy. It won't be something that I'll spend a lot of time harping about and worrying over. But I want to learn to snipe in some of these games, because there's a sincere reward in accurately placing your shot such that you have put your enemy down instantaneously when they had no way to stop you from any distance. And so I do that knowing full well that I'm not very good at it. But I like to challenge myself because it keeps the game interesting, it keeps the game fresh. And even if I don't have to change my playstyle, sniping while rushing, for example, learning to quickscope by failing utterly, then I want to do that because it gives me something new to do in the game. And if I have to change my playstyle to adapt to a certain circumstance, or in order to succeed in general, then I'll do that. And I'll have fun, because at the beginning of anything, and I talked with Skulls and Spades about this, is that at the beginning of a new game, you have no real expectation of yourself. There's nothing that you feel like you should be able to do consistently. There's no pressure on yourself to get a VSAT swarm and dogs, but that's not technically the order. There's no pressure on you to get 3 MCOM attacker medals over the course of 2 rounds. There's no pressure on you to get 60 kills in a rush game. None of that is there. But once you have established that you are in fact quite good at a game, then there's a precedent that you set for yourself and that the game has nothing to do with, that you now have to follow. And if that's the only thing you feel like doing, then by all means do it, but it's not going to be fun. So what I urge you to do, and what Kulprit urges you to do, is pick up something new. If all you play is Assault in Battlefield, that's, you have 100 service stars, you have as many points per second as there is possible to get, set yourself a goal. Say to yourself, alright, I have a score per minute of 600. I'm making that number up arbitrarily. Now, go to Support. Or better yet, Engineer, because there's no ready way of getting yourself points in that besides repairing vehicles, and try to match or exceed your score per minute. Challenge yourself. Make up things within the game that make it fun to do. I mentioned what I'm about to talk about in a previous video, but I think it bears mentioning again, because there are still people going around doing challenges in retro games. For example, how fast can you complete Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? And I had no idea some of the glitches that were even possible in that game. You can clip through God and everything in that game if you know what you're doing, and there's certain ways you can manipulate the systems to make yourself go faster. And so speedruns, while a little silly in my opinion, are a good way to make a game you've played to death fresh again. I picked up Final Fantasy VII for the PC and I paid real money for it. Not because I was going to play it right away for 80 hours on end, I probably wasn't, and indeed I haven't. But I know that the opportunity is there and I can relive the experience with new eyes. I can look at it not from the nostalgic wonderment of being a child. On the other hand, I can look at it from an adult's perspective. It's like watching an old movie that you watched as a kid, like Fern Gully or any of the Disney movies, or even SpongeBob today, or some of the old cartoons. Watch those again now that you're older, 18, 20, 17, 21, I'm widening the gap. But watch them again and listen. Really listen to the jokes. Because I guarantee you that half of the jokes in those shows you missed. And the same is true for gaming. Because if you spent your whole time doing just one class, just one weapon ability, just one perk, then you don't know the rest of what the game has to offer. It gets stale, there's no point. Because if you're not playing these games as much as we play them, and you're not having fun, and you're not finding new ways of having fun, and you're just stuck in this single rut of using an M16 all the time, then you're missing the point. Developers put so much time into these games, and you really need to think of, how else can I play this? And how else can I be effective? And how else can I help my team that isn't camping in a bush someplace, but is still fast and fun and just enjoyable? Because that's all video games and media in general is really about.